Hi, this is Eric with Geo Creations. Today we're going to talk about line, the element of art, pattern, the principle of art, the ideas that drive it, and how you can create symbolism through these means. First, a little bit of history about a couple of Native American tribes. The Samoans are native to Polynesia, a U.S. territory. Much of their line and pattern-based artwork has been taken mainstream through what we call tattooing. The Samoan tattoo, or pia, is something that young men would get when they were welcomed into manhood. They would tattoo from hip to knee special lines and patterns with meanings that discuss their role in a tribe, or their family history, or whatever. They would share certain symbols like fetu, meaning star, or malu, meaning protected, throughout their tribe. Another Native American group, the Navajo people, became really well renowned at their Navajo blanket weaving. They used vibrant colors and elaborate patterns and techniques to create world-renowned art. They became famous, particularly with the Spanish people, for trading really well-woven blankets. They, much like the Samoan people, had a lot of meaning buried in their blanket weaving. Some interesting icons are the sky symbols for stars and comets. If you look at the image on the screen, you'll see these triangular forms with longer triangular forms underneath and a large quadriceps shape below that. These are symbols for comets flying through the sky, and when you understand the little triangle is a star, the long triangle is the tail, and the quadriceps below is a sky symbol, you begin to understand these symbols read like a sentence. The stars were flying through the sky. The complexity of these types of simple forms to create complex visual languages is shared throughout the Navajo people tribe as well. Up on the screen you'll see a crooked line overlapping a straight line. This is a traditional Navajo symbol for marriage, two unlike things being combined. Other similar Navajo symbols have been shared throughout the tribe, such as patterns indicating gods of maize or corn, or symbols for religious dwellings as well. What follows is a trio of pattern and symbol making exercises that'll challenge your skills at various levels. There are various types of lines to use throughout this exercise. There are straight lines, zigzags, curves, hatching or cross-hatching lines, or lines that just crisscross over and over like so. There's also geometric shapes like triangles, circles, and squares. Spiral patterns, thick lines and thin lines, and perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are oftentimes referred to as right angles. So as long as your lines meet and make a 90-degree angle, you should be all right. You might be asking, well, what if I can get multiple types of pattern on with a single series of lines? And you're right, you can absolutely do that. Right here, this cross-hatching section actually accomplishes a few types of line. You have of course, your cross-hatching lines, which are present. You also have straight lines. You have perpendicular lines because these all meet at a 90-degree angle. You have a geometric pattern repeating with the squares. And probably the most deceiving of all, you also have a zigzag. So by drawing this single pattern out, I've accomplished most of the types of line required from the line types. Next up is what I call the crazy hair exercise. We're going to draw an oval in on our piece of paper for the head, draw a cylinder for the neck, and draw in the shape of the shoulders. You can sketch in whatever kind of facial features you want. Just make it look human. Whatever eyes, nose, and mouth you feel you're inclined to make, go for it. After you've lightly sketched in your facial expression, draw in large segments touching out to the edges of the paper. These segments are too big for our pattern, so we're going to break them into smaller segments. Draw some horizontal lines to make them approximately, less than 3 inches in scale either direction. These will allow us to map out where our patterns are going to go. Next, I went ahead and wrote my name in cursive in some of the segments. So if you want to hide a message in there, this is the time to go ahead and plan it out before you implement your patterns. The majority of your time will be spent drawing in these various types of patterns. Use zigzags, curves, spirals, thick and thin lines, perpendicular lines. Incorporate all the different types of lines requested to make your patterns as diverse as possible. When you've completed the process of drawing in all your patterns and covering 3/4 of the page, you trace over everything with a felt-tipped pen. I usually use a black pen, but multicolored pens can be a lot of fun as long as they're fine point. For your next level learners, the elephant pattern exercise is a great idea. After you've finished sketching in your elephant design, whether it be front-facing or profile like the one you see here, it's wise to then break up your segments on your elephant and your background. Remember, you want to fill about 3/4 of the paper up with patterns. So feel free to get pretty liberal with your layout and designs. Make sure your patterns don't exceed more than 3 inches apart in any direction. Otherwise, you'll not have a very diverse layout or design setup on your final image. Your final version should be filled with diverse and interesting patterns throughout the entire image. When you've completed sketching them in with pencil, trace over them with a fine point felt pen. I just use Sharpie fine points because they do a good job. For your highest level learners, the Navajo Princess profile image is a great place to start. It adds the additional challenging elements of drawing a human head in profile, as well as the contour form lines to give the neck and face a sense of depth. As you can see on the neck and the face of the figure, these contour form lines are like the ones you see on the face of a dollar bill. You're using line and not shading to give the figure a sense of three-dimensionality. Maintain a consistent spacing between your form lines on the neck and face. No more than 1/4 of an inch, otherwise it'll look too sparse. Think about the contours of something like a sphere around the cheekbones and the forehead, or maybe a cylinder for the bridge of the nose. Over all my years of instructing this pattern and line exercise, I've had some fascinating and really diverse approaches to this exercise. As long as you meet the requirements, feel free to get as experimental as you want. Whatever human or pattern or hidden message you want to communicate, feel free and have fun. Thanks for your time.